Have you ever conceived gouging your eyes out while watching a movie? Well, have you? Watching this movie almost made me do just that. And you might too, should you dare watch it. So if you'd watched my Terrifier 2 movie review I posted a few months back, you'd know that I mentioned I'm going to be doing an ongoing segment known as the Dread Den, where I cover movies. So yup, that's what we're doing today. But did I inadvertently put myself through some kind of psychological torture to watch the movie that we're going to be going over today? Well, kind of. More on that later. Anyways, The Night of the Killer Bears is a Thai horror comedy movie from 4 Digital Media Studios. Should you watch it? Well, to be forthcoming and not waste your time, this movie is a hot mess. This movie is the garbage juice that leaks from the bottom of the dumpster that if you would cut your hand on it, would guarantee tetanus or death. But if you want to stick around for a bit, I will tell you there is one bright spot in this movie that made me walk away with some partial value that not all 1.5 hours of my time were completely cast into the shadow realm. So out of the gate, we see a man walk into a coffee shop where we see a female barista sleeping at the counter. Instead of waking her like a normal person, he decides to snap a couple of photos of her like a complete weirdo, then proceeds to ding the bell to awake her, further leading me to believe that he is a complete asshole. It turns out that they seem to be friends because the cheeky loser asked the girl to come help him with his schoolwork after getting off her shift. However, she dishes up a cold serving of Swerve with a garnish in the form of a big fat L to our creepy friend here. Anyways, fast forward a bit and we see the barista closing up shop when all of a sudden she is restrained and forced to sit in the main area of the coffee shop, all tied up. And this is where we get our first goofy horror trope when we see the classic dragging of the axe on the ground as the captor approaches his victim. Big surprise, it's the incel lad that was stood up for a date all because the barista girl had a boyfriend. Anyways, he starts spewing out nonsensical chants that she was a liar, yada yada, and the idiot unties her before going into a manic fit. His incessant, repetitious chants at the top of his lungs had me praying to the horror movie gods for him to be killed off very quickly. Kill him, please! This is where the movie goes off the rails for me. The girl runs outside to find her boyfriend laying in the grass butchered, and the degenerate schmuck that follows her outside winds up getting hit with the Uno reverse card when the barista girl turns around and laughs and thanking the delusional idiot for killing her boyfriend so she didn't have to before turning around and butchering him. Then a few moments later, as if my mind wasn't already spinning, and I don't mean from an oh wow this movie is pushing the boundaries of originality, the barista gets a double reverse Uno card and has her head sliced clean off her shoulders. What the hell is going on in this movie? Now this was just the opening act, but to be frank, I was already kind of lost. I don't think this movie is really worth peeling back the layers of this onion because, to say the least, I wasn't impressed with the way this movie carried on. Not to mention the subtitles were so frickin' fast you would have needed to be enrolled in the Evelyn Wood Speed Reading Academy just to keep up with the flow of some dialogue. The long and short of the rest of this movie is a bunch of young, late teen, early 20-somethings gather at some kind of remote resort. Why, we don't really know, but there is this guy. Some Johnny Sport Coat acting motherfucker named Tony, and he is equal parts annoying as shit, goofy, and a hardo. However, he takes a turn at the end of the movie, and I actually turned out to enjoy him. Then we have the cute romantic couple Win and Aim who set up this getaway. Then there is the resort clerk who is somehow not the clerk, or we don't know if he is because he's holding some girl in the back hostage who might be the real clerk. I don't know. I told you this movie is confusing as shit. Then we have this girl Nan who is auditioning for a movie, and let me tell you, this girl is a firecracker. One part that I laughed to myself about was when she was outside waiting to talk to the old greasy movie director, and she gives him this look, and I'm thinking, oh, that's the look of I'll to get this movie part. But then it goes to a different scene and I'm like, oh, maybe I misread that social cue. But then a few minutes later we see, oh, they fought. But I didn't expect to see her tying the man to the bed and gutting him, followed by calling the police to report that she had been assaulted, blah, blah, blah. And at this point I'm just like, what am I watching? Nan ends up magically at the resort a few scenes later, like, damn, they just processed the crime scenes and took your statement that quick for you to go on holiday over in Thailand. Time continues to move remarkably slow in this movie while also zipping subtitles across the screen at speeds in which SpongeBob can flip Krabby Patties, and yet another friend comes and joins the group at the resort. And finally, it's when they're all sitting around a campfire at the resort, we start to finally get some idea as to why all these people have gathered. Apparently they all had this friend Kang who died, and most of the group tries to put it out of their minds because it sounds like there was some kind of tragedy involved. But one of the friends in the group is pissed that everyone else is trying to swipe this incident under the rug. The quarrel escalates into some of the group fighting and they all go off to bed. It is now that we start seeing the men dressed with the bear heads hooty-hooing and start killing people on the resort. The group is looking for their friend Chang, who was chopped down the middle by an axe from one of the fuzzy-headed assailants, and this is when Nan decides she has had enough and tries to escape using Chang's car keys. She finds a girl in the trunk that turns out that Chang apparently kidnapped this girl and was gonna bury her alive. I don't know anymore. The girl in the trunk is making too much noise, so Nan knocks her out, but then realizes a bear masked man has locked onto her, and she runs into an area of the resort where she is now trapped, and we're thinking she's done for, but wait. You didn't think another twist would happen, did you? Yeah, apparently Nan is a descendant of Kung fucking Lao or some shit and ruthlessly kills man after bare-headed man. Who would have known? Until she lets her guard down and gets a massive machete through the chest. Moving on. We see Tony run into Aim and she stabs him. Turns out, wow, another backstabbing twist of fate. Just when we thought we couldn't add on to the already large pile of twists. This movie has more twists than a skateboard at the X Games. Win comes upon Aim, who is then covered in blood and realizes something is up and that she was behind all the crazy shit going on. He goes to run away and Aim grabs a crossbow and hits Win in the leg. Good aim. Then before she goes to kill him with a sledgehammer, she ends up killing her last bare-headed crony. She ties up Win, and this is where we hear about what happened to the dead friend Kang. Apparently Aim was dating him and pleaded for him not to go on a diving trip with a group of friends, and he went regardless. A storm was supposed to be rolling in, and the friends knew this but decided to go anyways. Long story short, Kang didn't make it. Before Aim is about to sing the coup de grace on Win, Tony comes to the rescue, firing a crossbow bolt into Aim's chest and unties Win. Tony goes to deliver a death blow to Aim, but she's not on the ground anymore where they shot her. Both Tony and Win return to the resort lounge area, critically injured, and take a moment to gather themselves on the sofa. Now this is where I said there is one bright spot in the entire movie. Out of the corner, out of view from both Tony and Win, we see a massive stuffed teddy bear and Aim is hiding inside it. She stands up and this is where one of the funniest movie fights I've watched in a while occurs as two men try with all their might to subdue this crazy chick wearing a full bear suit who's trying to kill them. All the while, there's this hectic, zany BPM tie jam going on. This made the movie somewhat bearable to walk away from with a pea-sized amount of enjoyable substance. The fight ends and Aim is on the ground and Tony is ready to slug her for the last time, but Win can't stand the thought of his girlfriend being killed, so he's trying to push Tony back when all of a sudden, a gunshot is heard and Win goes down. A cop arrives from a phone call that was made earlier by Tony when things started getting out of hand. Aim feeds the cop a sob story about how Tony and Win were the assailants, and the cop takes her out of there to safety, but she hasn't finished her mission yet, so she kills the cop by driving a knife into his eye. And I'll admit, I wince with eye shit, so this scene got me a little. She goes back in to find that Win is dead from his gunshot wound and that Tony has gotten away in Chang's car. He starts to hear a banging coming from the back of the car and finds the girl that Chang had kidnapped, and they drive off together to safety. Closing out the movie, we see Aim cleaning up the resort and then changing the closed for business sign back to open for what I can only assume is them trying to say that she's crazy and ready to kill some more. Come on, dude. Trust me, I love some chaotic goodness, but typically only when it's a story that gels together really well. The exception to this rule might be when I watch Lovecraftian or Eldritch horror flicks, because unexplained craziness is what you sign up for when you watch movies like those. This movie felt like it was trying to be a Thai version of Scream with parody horror tropes and large twists, but it didn't feel like it was delivering critical information in a timely manner. Now, I'm not going to go on a huge diatribe about how this movie could have been better, because quite honestly, we know with these B movies, sometimes no matter what you do and how you spice them up, there's still going to be a schlocky B movie. But for God's sakes, this movie is called The Night of the Killer Bears, and there's only about 5% of the movie that has to do with bears. And they're not even bears, it's wannabe gangster groups of men with suits and oversized stuffed teddy bear heads that are trying to kill a group of friends. I went into the movie because the tagline of this movie was literally Ted meets Terrifier.
So that was a fucking lie.
Remember how I asked in the beginning if I put myself through psychological torture to review this movie? Well, it was torture because of how bad the movie was. I was looking for some bloody, gory fun. This movie had a small handful of death scenes that were graphically goofy, and I can appreciate small budgets, but I feel like they spun this movie way out of control from the very beginning. 1.5 out of 10. And I'm only giving it that much because the fight scene at the end being somewhat funny. Do with this information what you will. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. God damn, that movie sucked.